kill them. They can't hide. They're
If talking about graphic content, deaths, murders, and possibly pedophilia offends you in any way, you might want to click off of this. This is feature review. Before we get talking about Luis and Jason, please hit that subscribe button and the like button and comment whether you want to see a whole video on Luis Garavito and his sinister life. So let's go ahead and get started. It's going to be a little serious, but I think you're going to like what you hear. Hi guys, and welcome to Feature Review. I'm really excited today because we're going to be talking about something that I really get excited about and am oddly intrigued by. So today we're going to be talking about serial killers. Not just real serial killers, but movie serial killers. And what better way to talk about them than to compare the best of the best. Today we're going to be talking about two serial killers who have the highest body counts. A real serial killer and a movie serial killer. The first one is a movie serial killer, and his name, Jason Voorhees. Yes, we all know Jason is not real, but when looking at a movie franchise, he has one of the highest body counts at 146 bodies that he has put on ice throughout the entire franchise. Now, his modus operandi, if you will, is basically killing everything that moves. Like anything that flinches, he's right there, ready to stab it, run it through, chop it up. His type of murder would be classified as like an ultra violence, ultra gore. Now I did a little research, and this might be going into a little bit deeper of a concept behind the character than the original people wanted it to be, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. I'm going to analyze Jason versus our real live Jason. Let me tell you, this real serial killer puts our movie serial killer to shame. It is absolutely a guttural feeling to read what this man did and know that it's real. The real serial killer we're going to be talking about today, Luis Garavito. And I'll put a link in the description of some places that you can go and learn more about Luis Garavito. But this man is so vile and beyond anything I could imagine. When I read the things that he did, he made Jason Voorhees look like a saint.
This is someone who needs to feel godlike.
It was absolutely disgusting. Now, since we're comparing, earlier I said Jason has a body count of 146 souls that he has put on ice. Now, Luis Garavito has a confirmed 138, but it is estimated that he has killed more than 300 to 400 children. He did not kill a single adult. He killed nothing but children. Now, the sick, twisted Luis Garavito continues to talk to the cops about his murders. So, let's really get into this, dive deep, and talk about the exact intricacies of these two serial killers.
You can fantasize it and you will have it go down exactly the way you want. But in reality, it never works that way.
90+% of serial killers are sexually motivated.
Jason, he has a body count of 146. Luis Garavito has a body count of 138 confirmed, but continues to open up to the police to work with them, and it is estimated to have killed over 300 to 400 children. Yes, young boys between the ages of 6 to 16 being his oldest, and we'll get into that last victim because it is very disturbing and very horrific. So, going into our comparisons, what is the mental statuses of both of our serial killers? Jason's mental status is he hates everyone for what he went through. Now, there's a lot of theories out there that Jason is immortal and Jason is dead the whole time and nothing can kill him. But there is a lot of evidence to support that Jason actually survived that incident. There's a lot of fan theory. You need to go out and read it. I'm not going to give that away, but I want you to go out and do some research on that because it is awesome, the minds that come up with some of this stuff. Anyway, getting back to Jason. Jason has a hatred for all people. When he was supposed to be protected by the counselors, obviously they were in the woods having sex, they were talking, they were just blowing these kids off, and these bullies came up to him and did what they did. Now, Jason blames the counselors, so everyone that comes to this camp, obviously, he wants to destroy, he wants to get that revenge. He grew up in a very controlling atmosphere from his mother, and that is some of the big factors that we get from Jason's psychology, if you will. Luis Garavito has a way worse upbringing. Gavarito's father was a absolute alcoholic. He was abusive. He sexually abused his children.
He was 1.67 meters tall. He wore glasses, and he had scars and burns on his left arm. Garavito's father was a very abusive man.
At the age of 16, Luis Garavito ran away from home and began to make a life of his own. He traveled everywhere for work, but he still had the time to have a girlfriend and a child who, we are told, was not harmed in any way, as Luis Garavito was supposedly being the father of this child. So we just covered the body counts and the psychology behind these two killers. Now, something that is extremely important is the way they killed. Jason, obviously everyone knows he has a machete. He has run people through with fire pokers. He becomes extremely creative in his ways. And it's really hard to narrow down his favorite killing method. But unfortunately, Luis Garavito had a favorite that he would go to every single time. Luis Garavito loved to slit the throat of his victims. Now, that is possibly the most degrading way to die. He would tie them up beforehand, and then he would slit their throat. Now, we touched on this when we talked about the psychology of what made Jason and Luis kill. Obviously, we can only speculate as to the psychology behind Jason, but for Luis, we can have a definitive answer. What made this guy tick? So with Jason, the motive that he had in the films in his life was revenge. Luis, his motive was control. His motive was power. Luis had to control something. He wanted to be dominating and domineering so that he himself could feel as though he was bigger than who he was. Part of that was from his father. His father was extremely abusive. One thing that we don't hear about a lot is this case. And I find it very disturbing that we don't hear about this case more, because this case is extremely relevant in the times that we have today. The way that he killed his victims, not the way that he killed his victims, but the way that he seduced his victims. He would dress up as a priest, as a businessman, and what is even more horrifying to me, that he called him the trustworthy personas. He would dress up as someone that people could trust And the heartbreaking thing about this is one of the people he would dress up as was a drug dealer. That was someone that these kids were trusting. I'm not going to go into it, but the absolute psychology behind a child trusting a drug dealer is horrendous. It's horrifying. It's painful to even think about. So, moving on, we've talked about the psychology behind them, what they wanted to do, why they wanted to do it, the motive, which hand in hand goes with psychology as well. We talked about a little bit about the techniques of drawing in one of their victims. Now, I kind of want to go back a little bit and talk about this a little bit more. Jason has no way of drawing in his victims. He stays in one place. He doesn't move. He waits for the people to come to him. He's patient, and then when he finds his chance, he absolutely destroys. But he's sloppy, and sometimes in the excitement of killing, he makes a mistake. Now, Luis Garavito. This man was not a genius. I did some research, and the average IQ of a serial killer is 86, and that's below average. So these people that commit these crimes are not geniuses like we are led to believe. They are in fact lower than the average IQ. The way that they are so successful is because they're patient, they are methodical, and they've got nothing to lose. Luis Garavito would target kids that were homeless below the poverty line.
The fact that these children had received no dental treatments indicated that they may have been very poor and therefore related to the disappearances of street children.
Once he would promise them money, drugs, candy, he would get them to carry something or walk a distance. He said that that was the perfect way to wear down my victim before I was able to do my worst. Now in comparison, Jason Voorhees did the same thing in a way. And this story, the real life story, actually helps us understand the story told in Friday the 13th. Because what we have is Jason would run, actually Jason would walk towards his victims and they would run themselves out. They would exhaust themselves. And that was the same thing that Luis Garavito would do to these young boys. One thing that I want to make clear about how horrific this man was. When someone writes a story, they use their imagination. And in their imagination, it was horrific for people to kill teenage counselors. The youngest child was 6 years old. The oldest one was 16. Now, Jason Voorhees was very good at killing teenagers. That was his specialty, basically. Luis killed a 16-year-old. The reason why I think that was one of the most horrendous, the 16-year-old was handicapped. He was physically handicapped, and he saw him as easy prey. And Luis would also be drunk while he was committing these crimes.
They found the position of the bodies, certain fibers from rope that was used to tie up the victims, and even empty liquor bottles to be very similar to evidence found at the other crime scenes.
The worst part about Luis is he is still alive. He is walking in his jail cell, private jail cell, because apparently they don't want anything to get him. And I don't understand that. As someone who is so evil, just let him into the public population. Give them 5 minutes with this dude. You will not have to worry about anything ever again. Taxpayer money is safe. I know that sounds horrible, but this guy killed over 300 kids. He deserves it. Jason was a guy who was doing crazy things. Luis was a guy. He just liked little boy. I am going to hell for that statement. I am going to hell for that statement. So, what did we learn today? We learned that humans are more evil than their imagination. Or, in other words, humans' imaginations come to fruition whenever they are just plain evil. The thing about Luis is he was not declared clinically insane, because to be declared clinically insane, you have to know what you're doing is wrong at the time that you're doing it. He was not criminally insane. This man looks like somebody you would see on the street every day. Every single day, people pass by and you don't know what they're capable of. Luis was one of these people. He would physically change his appearance. He was methodical. He was not a genius. He was just methodical. Jason, on the other hand, he did not give two crops about anything. And he just went around slicing, didn't care if anybody caught him, because he would kill that person who caught him. So that's the difference between Jason and Luis. It's your decision to decide. It's time for you to decide who was worse. Is Jason the more devilish of the two? Is he more corrupt and sinister? Or is Luis Garavito more dark and evil than Jason could ever wish to be? Thank you guys so much for watching. Please comment below and let me know if you want to see a whole video on Luis Garavito, or if you would like to see a whole video on Jason. Please let me know. I just need some feedback from you. I want to know what's next. But coming up is the grandma killer. No, she does not kill grandmas. She's a grandma that kills. Literally, she kills like crazy, and she's so adorable you kind of want to let off the hook, because you're like, you know what, your dementia's setting in, and that's probably what it is. But she was one of the deadliest killers that you'll ever read about. So thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe, and don't forget to give me feedback on what you want to see for this spooky Halloween. And as always, this is your feature review.
Garavito cried out for Duran to stop. The killer just couldn't take any more.